I'm the one at the sail, I'm the master of my sea. Oh, ooh, the master of my sea. Oh, ooh. I was broken from a young age, taking my soak into the masses, writing my poems for the few that look at me, took to me, shook at me, feeling me, singing from heartache, from the pain, taking my message from the veins, speaking my lesson from the brain, seeing the beauty through the. Hey, you burn me up, believer, believer. Hey, you burn me down, you build me up, believer, believer. Pain, let the bullets fly, or let them rain. My life, my love, my drive, it came from. Hey, you burn me up, believer, believer. Third things third, send a prayer to the ones up above. All the hate that you've heard has turned your spirit to a dove. Oh, ooh, your spirit up above. Oh, ooh. I was choking in the crowd, building my rain up in the cloud, falling like ashes to the ground, hoping my feelings they would drown, but they never did, ever lived, ebbing and flowing, inhibited, limited, till it broke open and rained down. It rained down like. Hey, you burn me up, believer, believer. Hey, you burn me down, you build me up, believer, believer. Pain, let the bullets fly, or let them rain. My life, my love, my drive, it came from. Hey, you burn me up, believer, believer. Last days last by the grace of the fire and the flames. You're the face of the future, the blood in my veins. Oh, ooh, the blood in my veins. Oh, ooh. But they never did, ever lived, ebbing and flowing, inhibited, limited, till it broke up when it rained down. It rained down like.
I want to stop. We can't.
Let the bullets fly, or let them rain. My life, my love, my drive, it came from. You burn me up, believer, believer.
Verizon is going ultra, and now you can too with the offer you just can't miss. For a limited time, get a 5G phone on us
Delightful.
with no trade-in required.
I love it.
What's not to love? Verizon is going ultra, so you can get more.
Good evening, everyone.
I'm Rescue Poetic Susan Justiniano. I'm the Poet Laureate of Jersey City, and I want to welcome you to tonight's event. We are sharing pieces and some poetry from Megha Sood's recently released My Body Lives Like a Threat. So if you haven't gotten it yet, please make sure that you reach out to Megha and get your copy so that you can enjoy this along with us. Tonight's event is produced and presented by Open Road Poetry, and my partner Crystal Letters in Open Road Poetry is behind the scenes. She's providing our amazing technical support. This session is being recorded, and if you don't want to be caught on camera, please feel free to leave your camera off. We ask that everyone who is participating remains muted while the readings are happening. You are welcome to share your questions and your accolades and your love in the chat for not only Megha, but for everyone else that's here, everyone that's participating. Tonight's reading, we ask that you do be engaged and that you do show your love for the poets as well as the poetry and one another. This is a community event, and we would love to hear from each and every one of you where you're located and what your favorite thing is about this book. We do have a question for the audience at the end. So we do have some house rules, some housekeeping. Again, if you don't want to be recorded, you are welcome to leave your camera off. We are asking that you do remain muted for the speakers, just so that we don't have any feedback or any background noise that's unnecessary. It can be a little distracting, as I'm sure with Zoom we've all learned, right? So here we have, if you're welcome to donate to Open Road Poetry, it'll help with the cost of running programming and continually giving back to our community. So you are welcome to do so. So Krista, if you want to slide over to the next one. In addition to this, we just want to be able that you make sure that you introduce yourselves to one another. Some of you may already know one another. Some of you, and like me, I don't know everyone here, and I look forward to getting to know everyone here quite well. So thank you for that. So we do have also a trigger warning. If you are sensitive, make sure that you take care of yourself first. That is of the utmost importance. If something is sensitive, something just catches you off guard, you are welcome to step back, take a pause, and step away. This is sensitive material. Megha's passion for justice, social justice, and body justice is known to all or most of us. So keep those things in mind. So as we're moving along here, and I would like to introduce Megha Sood. So just a little bit about Megha. I had the honor of knowing her here in Jersey City, and we've developed quite a relationship through poetry and through getting to know one another. And Megha, she's an award-winning Asian American poet, editor, and literary activist from New Jersey. She's a recipient of the 2021 Poet Fellowship from Martha's Vineyard Institute of Creative Writing and national level winner of the 2020 Poetry Matters Project, Poetry Editor Literary Journals. Oh, that's a mouthful, isn't it? Mookie Chick from the UK, Life and Legends USA, and in addition to that, she's a literary partner with Life in Quarantine, and it's a Stanford University project. She's the author of her chapbook, which was recently released, My Body is Not an Apology. And that is just a little sampling of what you're going to hear today as well. And that was released on Finishing Line Press. So in addition to that, she recently released in her full version, My Body Lives Like a Threat, which is what we're covering today on Flower Song Press in 2022. She blogs and she has her own website, so make sure you check her out. Follow her on social media, follow her wherever you can find her. And I would like to yield the stage and yield the mic to Megha Sood.
Thanks so much, Susan, for this kind and generous introduction. And I'm so excited, and I'm so filled with gratitude for all my guest readers who have joined me here. And it's gonna be a treat for me to listen my poetry through their voice. And I'm really thankful for all the readers and all the audience who has joined this. So today I'm gonna be reading like few poems from my book, My Body Lives Like a Threat, and I'm gonna just start the reading. The first poem is called Peace, a Metaphor for Denial. And this was a national level winner in 2020. Peace, a metaphor for denial. Peace, an act of ignorance, an act of denial, is not bliss, no more. When silence is gutted like a fish and blood of your own fills the street, how long can you be the puppet in your own peaceful country? This act of abandonment speaks a muted language for all the hearts trapped like sparrows on the other side of town. The wall creates a boundary between me and humanity. They are still considered illegal with one foot in my land, another bloodied and stuck in the barbed wire that I put around God's own country. I was born with the privilege to call the piece of earth my own. No matter it is laced and seeped with someone else's blood, it belongs to me now. The young boy is shot. The pavement is stained by the color of his blood, dark and useless to the people of this peaceful country. Those who pull out the armrest and the beach chairs to see the stars light up the sky and the deafening noise, muting the wails of a widowed mother. They sip the beer as cold as their souls, leaving the scene with a shrug and a short sigh. Ignorance is bliss. Peace is a metaphor for denial in this country I call mine. And the next poem is called Does Hurt Have a Gender? And it's a question posed to the readers and the listeners of this poem. Does hurt have a gender? What does a body want when it breaks down into a million pieces? Its pulverized existence wanting acceptance, only to be ignored and walked over, left over like day old milk on the kitchen counter, forgotten and left to cuddle. Why do we keep numbing the sharp pain, the knotted lamentation caught in our hungry mouths? That cuts our soul both ways and leaves us to bleed in this world, profused with sweat and blood, a moment indescribable, leaking and soaking the ridges of the curbside. Here, the thickness of your blood, its viscosity, and the gravitas of your speech depends on the color of your skin, a pain untenable, an insurmountable pain rising in my mouth, a dichotomy between pain and acceptance, a desire abominable. Do screams have a religion too? Do cries have a race? Does hurt have a gender? Do wounds have a nationality? Does your tongue curl into sin when you call out my name? Does the triteness of your ideologies still mollify your pain? And the next poem is called Mouth. Our mouth is an entry point. It speaks of hunger, speaks of lust, the urgency of something more sacred than the hymns under muted breath. It speaks of the violence bodies endure, a gaping wound for our broken soul, an unspoken lexicon of silence, but misheard and misunderstood. Desires birth within it. Anything that catches our attention needs to be validated by our mouths. The epicenter of gluttony, the protagonist of the original sin. The desirous taste should sit well before we can call it our own. We call a lot of things our own. We desire, we possess the most untamed of all senses. A shiny trinket catches our attention and the slurping desire starts building. We are creatures of the mouth. We are creatures of wanting. And just for to let the readers know that my book has been divided into 5 different sections, and each sections talk about a specific issue which arises out of body politics. So the issue about gender and sexual discrimination, the issue of discrimination due to color, then the effect of the war on the people of the country. So every section focus on one issue, and I'm picking up like a poem from each of the sections. So the next section is called "My Body Is Not an Apology," and this is also the title of the chapbook which was published last year, and it also became from the collection from the full length collection. My body is not an apology. This body, my body, is not an apology. It's a prayer. Forgiveness wrapped in the filigrees on the end of my skin, frayed at the ends, battered for so long by your pointy convictions, and cookie cutter rules that try to shape and mold this body along. My body is not an apology. It doesn't desire to fit in a frame mapped inch by inch, else to be ashamed. My body is not an apology. It's a roar, a declaration, an unapologetic, unabashed, straight in your face truth, a war cry, a deafening scream from the silence. My body is not an apology. This body will not be mapped as a benchmark for beauty, an attempt to hide crow's feet or the spider veins from your wild eyes and your forked tongue. My body is not an apology, but a safe haven, an epitome of affection, a metaphor for crimson love that flows in my veins for years to come. My body is not an apology, it's an eye of the storm, a dance of destruction, a safe haven for life, forgiveness in disguise. With love, neatly folded in the wrinkles of my skin, warmth oozing from every pore of my being, a lesson etched in every single crow's feet, forgiveness written through every inch of me. This body is not an apology, it is a profound lesson, a triumphant proclamation, an unfettered declaration. The next poem is called We All Rise Out of Love. And since the Mother Day is around the corner, it's an ode to the mothers in our life and the people who have been like mothers to us. We all rise out of love. My tongue twists and turns, trying to fit the cookie cutter in a land unknown. The words put in my mouth, like the small portions, those scores, made by warm, supple hands of my mother. I'm gently waiting for the next one. Her fingers, always doused by the fragrance of bay leaves, turmeric tainted the various shades, as she kneads the atta and dispenses life lessons in the kitchen on a warm summer day. She taught me kindness comes from the heart, but hunger pierces a man the most. So learn to soothe hunger, the lingering pain, as she puts all her strength into kneading the atta into a dollop of the milky moon. My language is different than yours. I try fervently to explain to my son, who keeps correcting my pronunciation, as I teach him the basics of love, kindness, and purity of heart. Sometimes I wonder how this world, marred and demarcated by the boundaries, those twisted pronunciations, would look beautifully kneaded together, like the lump of moon sitting in the copper clad parath of my mother, waiting to rise out of warmth. And the last poem of this read is the title poem of my full length, which is My Body Lives Like a Thread. My body lives like a thread. A wound opens its mouth and becomes self inflicting, just like the night in its extreme, vulnerable to a ray of light, its existence challenged, and yet it stands bravely, unfettered by the challenges of the dawn. As I catch the words in my mouth, my language becomes an open threat, my razor speech falling sharp on your dull convictions. We always expose our deepest and softest parts to heal. That's how the body learns to heal, to grow. To be vulnerable is an elegy for acceptance. We have hunger written all over us, with the ink as black as the mole on your shoulder, challenging the frothiness of the moonlight. My unspoken words sit like a welt on my tongue in this foreign world. Every time I twist my tongue to shape a word, I mispronounce your fear. A new threat is born. Thanks everyone for listening.
Audience, if you'd like, you can unmute. You can give Megha a round of applause.
I'm reading the comments in the chat section and thankful for all the beautiful comments that you have left. Thanks everyone.
Kim says, beautiful, Megha.
Thanks so
And
much,
Emily
Christine.
says, no problem. Emily says, you're such a brilliant poet. The words pierce through, brava, and thank you for the awesome poets.
Thank you so much.
Ricardo says, thank you for sharing. Powerful. And Amir says, amazing. Nicole Lyons says, that was incredible.
So I want to thank everyone. Thank you, Megha, for that very powerful and prolific reading from your book. And I have to tell you, those are some of my favorite pieces out of your book. And every time you perform them and read them and share them, I always get something new from them. So thank you for doing this. And thank you for sharing that, your amazing stories and your amazing voice. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Yeah, thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, our next reader who's going to be sharing a piece from Megha's book is Dr. Anita Anal. Dr. Anita Null is an Indian American poet. She's a flash fictionist, a children's writer, and a professor. She has 3 books of poetry, 1 of flash fiction, 4 for children, and 4 edited anthologies to her credit. That's quite amazing. That's quite an amazing accomplishment. So in her 3rd book, What's Wrong with Us, Kali Woman, published in 2021, Kelsey Press, and it's a compulsory reading. And it's an amazing book. So get to know her, follow her on social media, check out her website, and I'm going to yield the stage and the microphone to Dr. Nahal.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Very glad to be here. Very honored to be part of Megha's celebration of her book. My body lives like a threat. And I'm going to read a poem from the last section, My Body Lives Like a Threat. I chose this poem. It's called The Burden We Are Passing On. And I chose this poem because, as we all agree, we have to leave this only home that we know, planet Earth, a better place for our children and grandchildren. And this poem really resonated deeply. All of them do, but this one especially, and particularly with what's happening in Ukraine and other parts of the world, the way our children are dying in senseless wars. So here's the poem, The Burden We Are Passing On. Love arises out of acceptance in a land made of broken bones, which rattles and hums a lullaby in the soft light of the moon. Dig deep in the dirt with your dirty ankles. You can find the souls buried under your sidewalks. Standing knee-deep in the river of blood, leaving footprints everywhere you go. Such is the legacy we are leaving behind. There is an absence of the melody, the wind reeking of the hunger, lone tune of the Pied Piper is ruling the day, trying to proletize the truth. We are losing our kids to this damn sea, I say. Not a light or sparkle in those ashen eyes, robbed of their dreams as the sparrows lose shadows to the evening sun. The darkness plays in its bounty and hunger prevails. This town, left as a grieving metaphor for the catacombs, no longer hold life in its broken lap. Fingers bloodied with the blood of sacrificed newborns, the ones you have masticated the life from, bony shoulders carrying the burden for generations to come. Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Nahal. And we look forward to our question with you at the end of our session today. So that question, I'm going to ask that everyone, if you want to put in some questions in the chat, you are welcome to do so while we introduce our next reader. So our next reader is Candice Louisa Dacan, and she is a Sephardic French-Egyptian immigrant working as a psychotherapist a psychotherapist and a writer and editor in America. She co-edited 2 award-winning anthologies, Smitten, Lesbian Poetry, and The Kali Project, Indian Women's Poetry, co-edited with Megha Sood. So Dacan is a senior editor of the Indie Blues Publishing, a poetry editor at the Pinecone Review, and she has quite a few accolades after her name. So please, I yield the stage to Candice.
Hello, everyone. I'm reading Safekeeping. Safekeeping. The question begins when everything ends, an unmarked destination. Every hunger has a bowlful of answers ready to be gulped down to satiate the lingering thirst stuck in our parched throats for eons. Every gaze strikes with the pinpoint precision of holding the ones responsible for bringing us to this state we are dwelling in, a shared state of collective grief. We know where all this pain and hatred comes from, like a deluge swapping off mankind, and like its strong, turbulent flow sweeping the nation under its flow. Where has all this ramped up anger and injustice been buried for generations? Where were the entry points for the catacombs in the city, hiding for so long, chewing and spitting out its half-eaten narratives? The flawed narratives. Where is the blind mouth of this cave that devoured everything that was once black and beautiful? How soft and supple were the arms of those who once carried soft and tender love and passed it on to the next generation, like fingers laced with the aroma of bay leaves infused with heritage. Those fingers, those ears, carrying the fabled voices of my ancestors. Where was the deafening echo of voices now hushed and muted? Which bottom of the dark well was the secret storage for the bones of my ancestors piling up to eternity? Now, we all hold in our palms a bowlful of unpunctuated grief, living life like stragglers, with grief jumping hoops as a generation. The question is not what needs to be done with these pent-up emotions, but who do we give them to for safekeeping? Thank you so much, and thank you, Megha, for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Candice. for reading it so beautifully. You know how much it means to me for all of the guest readers. You've been like a beacon of inspiration and like so much supported me throughout my journey. And thank you so much for reading it so beautifully. I know it's not an easy thing to do justice for someone else's poetry, but you did it so beautifully, and so did Anita. I have the honor of introducing the next reader in today's event, and she's none other than the poet laureate of my city, Rescue Poetics, and she is the person I have known her right from my start of my writing journey. The first ever poetry mic, open mic, I was invited to. I still remember from the Apple's house, the historic place, and. Rescue, just to give you an idea, Rescue is the kind of person, she will like pave paths for you, she will build connection, build bridges, and do everything possible, humanly possible, to to elevate you, to give you that platform, to make you shine. So it's an honor and pleasure. And to give you more insight about her work, I'll read her bio. Susan Justiniano, Rescue Poetics, is the first Puerto Rican woman poet laureate of Jersey City, is a self-taught bilingual poet with a deep love for knowledge and music, coffee, food, dogs, and color red, not always in that order. And uh, she, in 2006, Rescue Poetics emerged as a professional artist entrepreneur. As a published and performing poet, she has recorded poems to music in English, in Spanish, and is deeply immersed in the arts across communities. She is also developing a body of work that focuses on rich linguistic diversity of poetry. Rescue Poetics poetry is motivating, uplifting, and empowering, designed to connect on a level far deeper than what the eye can perceive. Spinning verses in English and Spanish, her words weave stories of strength, growth, experience, and love in its many evolving forms. So please, I welcome and I yield the stage to Susan Justiano. Thank you.
Thank you, Megha, for the beautiful introduction. And I want to thank our Candice and Anita for your amazing readings of Megha's work. It's just absolutely beautiful to hear Megha's words in a different voice. So I have 4 pieces today, and I tried to pick something different that impacted me from each section. And if I did that, I'd probably be here all night reading this book by myself. But in the meantime, I'm going to start with the first piece, An Act of Self-Defense, after Ahmaud Arbery. The exact moment when the grief takes shelter in your heart, leaving you undone, when the emptiness sits in a gaping hole, an abyss of loneliness. The deafening lull in your mind stops making sense. Your ears ring with the lonely wail of the widow in the apartment above you. Sorrow takes a different shape. Tears streaming down incessantly for the senseless acts of violence and cowardice carried out by the very educated hands of this land, where life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness are foundations of society, the sidewalks of those pitted with the black bones of their own. You are not carrying your freedom in your hands, your right to bear arms, when the only right you give to a mother is to stick a cross in the middle of an unknown street, giving a piece of land for her dead son, a parched island of grief. There's nothing but death at the end of a gun. When the names keep adding to the unnamed list, Trayvon, Michael, Eric, and so on, an ever-growing list of dead and forgotten, where names have to scream out loud to make their lives matter, else all hell will break loose. To hell with your right to the Second Amendment, when it is laced with the blood of a Black brother whose murder you are incessantly trying to justify as self-defense. Thank you. The next piece that I'm reading is called A Fistful of Grain. After the genocide in Bosnia, Sudan, Iraq, Rwanda, Syria, and we can probably add Ukraine to that list. As the rumbling bulldozers move through her town, the earth-shattering truth starts, taking place in the hearts of her people all around, clinging to the lost faith of her fading grace. She waited for someone, anyone, to save her from being skinned alive, dumped in pieces. When faith becomes your biggest enemy, targeted for praying to the gods not known to many, you will be kicked around and gutted, stripped of your dignity. Monsters hungry for power, chest thumping their existence, take away the last sliver of hope from her bleared eyes, seeding them with pain. Sorted and arranged like pieces of meat on a slab, she will be devoured slowly and feverishly till her ashen soul cannot last. A displaced destiny and identity and a make-believe home is her safe haven now. Her eyes dream of nightmares, bringing alive every night of the slaughterhouse. Those mighty bulldozers, the once built her beautiful city, gleaming with minarets and lush lanes, are now used to dig mass graves for her only son, peacefully buried with a fistful of grain. Thank you. The next piece that I will be reading and sharing from Megha's book is called Unappreciated. How can you live a life when the moments are as long as the shrug of your shoulder, or waiting on the careless fingers resting on a trigger marked and unappreciated? How can you live life when you are judged by your caste, your creed, your skin color, or how your tongue moves inside you when you speak of love? Those scriptures the world has forgotten, while your knees are scraped blue, kneeling for praying to gods in heaven. How can you live a life when your desire and the rage of hormones or sex resting between your supple thighs marks and etches you, and you can only exist in binary form? Any other is a direct violation of the life soon to be dissolved, should cease to exist. How can you live a life like a broken spine of a book, still holding rotten pages together, the essence soaked in between tattered pages, but too old to be lifted off the shelves, thrown and resting in a frail, broken armchair? How can you live a life like that? Tell me, can you? Thank you. The last piece from Megha's book is I Do Not Need a Messiah. Like the grain seeping through the palm, you cannot stop pain, sweat, and tears. I will storm through the other side of your wall, paving my way as I move. I don't need a Messiah. I don't need you. The boundary, the fire lines which separate us all like the blood gnashed between clenched teeth, I will keep my way through. I don't need a Messiah. I don't need you. I don't need another you. Young, innocent blood staining the curbside, wasted and washed on the streets where precious freedom is gutted like a fish, filling the dirt pools, their gaping mouths, carrying the nakedness of the nation for the bleary eyes to see. I don't need another Messiah. I don't need a Messiah. I don't need another you. I will wade in the strongest of the tide. You shifty-eyed moon, you can turn the waves all you want. I will break the chains myself. I don't need a Messiah. I don't need another you. Thank you. Thank everyone for joining, participating, and your comments in the chat. I'll get to those in just a moment. I just want to introduce our next reader. So this has been an absolutely amazing experience and just so powerful to have this audience here. So our closing reader for this evening is Dr. Kim McMillan. Dr. Kim McMillan is a producer, a playwright, and a contributor to the anthology Some Other Blues, New Perspectives on Amiri Baraka, Ohio University Press, 2021. McMillan is the editor of Willow Books anthology Blackfire, this time published on March 15th, 2022. She is also the host of the Berkeley Community Media's Bay Area Art Beat. McMillan produced the Dillard University Harvard Hutchings Center Black Arts Movement 2016 conference in New Orleans, and with UC Merced Center for the Humanities, ASUCM, and the Office of Student Life. Ms. McMillan, Dr. McMillan, co-produced the 2014 UC Merced Black Arts Movement Conference, 50 years on. I yield the floor to Dr. McMillan. Dr. McMillan, if you could unmute, please.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I just wanted to say this was just the most fabulous reading. I just in awe of every one of you. And I'm very thankful to be here. Thank you. And thank you for the lovely reading, Susan. To hear Megha's work is a real privilege. I chose to read Megha's Even My Grief Should Be Productive. Don't let the aroma leave the pickle jar, the lid tight. My granny used to say, some things are better left unspoken. Part of your tradition. Scream, but not too loud. Let the grief resonate within the inside of your skin. We are picked and chosen precariously through callous, thick fingers. Make sure they are not rotten, not stained enough. The flavor doesn't come through well. I choose my memories precariously, not the rotten ones. The shuddering truth, it should not shatter the patriarchy. Let the anger morph. Let it churn into the vermilion shade, the symbol of pride and ownership. Use your pain wisely. Let them own you well. I use those broken whispers as a guide to pluck the radishes out from the broken mud of the vegetable garden, moisten, and broken by the summer rains, crumbled in pieces, but always rich in bounty. With bended knees, Draping my soft skin, I lowered myself, whitened by the heat of the summer sun, sweat and tears inseparable, a perfect concoction of pain, a wicked basket filled to the brim. By the end of the day, with the fruits of my labor, grief pulled out from the dearth of acceptance, a menagerie of suffocated desires laid bare for your eyes. A lesson I have learned through the years that even my grief should be productive. I just thought that was so beautiful, Megha. It's really beautiful. And I totally understand that. The next one I'm going to read is my survival story. The slow cleaving in my back, a seamless transformation, branching into my 1,000 cells, like a sapling breaking from the blind seed. I am thriving, growing like a Medusa, this fecundity of myself, breaking out into thousands versions of me, morphing into shapes, perfecting the art of Tobiari. Like reflection of the summer sun, shining into a million versions of me on shards of broken glass, blessing them with this apricity. I am the war cry, the mortal fear, residing behind enemy lines, the lava, the primordial gel, creating life so sublime. I'm the knowledge in the verse, in the smattering cacophony of your mind, with ink breaths and walnut skin, boisterous, unfettered, and uncontrolled, walking barefoot on this graveled path, unspooling life's fears in its intimate corridors. My pain impaled on the stars and the nightly skies, I shine through my pulverized skin. The broken piecage I forged together. Make a whole of me, an untrammeled beauty within. This fecundity is my survival instinct to handle the plethora of emotions, the plethora of emotions life throws at me, undulating between the proximity and the placidity of pain. I'm learning. Yes, I'm growing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kim. That was absolutely astounding. All the readers, if you could please turn your cameras on. And Crystal, if you could please spotlight all the readers. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who have joined us, please show your love, unmute yourself, clap your hands. Tell these readers how much you've appreciated their efforts tonight and all of their work. This is absolutely incredible. So, yes, thank you, thank you. So I have a question for all of our amazing panelists, all of our amazing readers tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, our audience members, please feel free to participate. You are welcome to unmute after we've had a chance to hear from our readers, and you can put the information in the chat if you'd like. Panelists, readers, please let us know how you came across Megha. How did you get to know Megha and her work, her poetry, her amazing drive for this community of poets? We're going to yield to Dr. Anita first.
Okay, so Megha and I became acquainted when I was living in Maryland about 2 years ago, I think. and came across her on Facebook through another connection. And then I started reading her poetry, kept abreast with her work, and we started to call each other, connect, on either through Facebook or calls. And then I moved to Jersey City last year for a few months. Now we are going back. And when I moved to Jersey City, my attempt was to get to meet Megha. So she and I met for lunch at a Turkish restaurant in downtown Jersey City, where I gave her a copy of my book and she shared about her work. So, and it's just that, sometimes you have this feeling with some people in the world. It's a feeling from the heart, and you just connect regardless of the physical distance or time difference. And I have the feeling with Megha. I consider her my younger sister. And I absolutely adore her work, and I have nothing but blessings for her.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anita. It's been a blessing for me to have you in my life.
Thank you. You too. You too.
So Candace, tell us, how did you come across Megha and her work?
So I was dreading this question initially because the truth is I cannot pinpoint the moment that I met Megha. And then I realized that says everything I need to know. She and I, our spirits met long before we spoke, long before we even wrote an email. It seemed like we were just spinning in the same universe. And when we started to write, which was, it feels like forever, but it's probably only been about 3 years. It just felt like we'd always known each other, and we just sort of spun in the same universe, catching each other's edges. And then after time, we began to kind of communicate about creative things, and we just ended up talking about creative things and collaborating together and working together on one project and then another project. And I feel like she's always been around, and I've always been spinning around her. So we're satellites, maybe not sisters, but satellites.
Yes, we are. We are absolutely satellites. Thanks, Candice. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Kim, if you would please.
Oh, of course. I'm not quite sure because, like everyone else, it feels like I've known Megha forever. But I think it's when, with Life in Quarantine, I think I got asked, but I think it was all to the same time that I was inviting people and sending out notices about Blackfire this time. And which is, to me, with this time, Blackfire first came out in 1968 with Larry Neal and Amiri Baraka, and it was on the Black Arts Movement and Black Power. And so we didn't get very many people who were not African American write poems for this. And so I thought it was really interesting. And then I read Megha's poem, and I was so enthralled, and it was so powerful, and she was so gifted that I thought it really needed to be in the anthology. And I thought, except for the name, she could have been a Black militant. So it was written with such a feeling of the Black experience. And I of course asked her, where did that come from? And she said when she started reading and researching African Americans' experience in the United States, a part of her was kind of shocked, because people assumed that this experience with slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow laws, basically the plight that caused the Great Migration was because they were killing Blacks in the South. Okay. And so with all of this coming out, and she just said, I just felt so much. And she said, I felt like I had to write about it. And so when I did the edited Blackfire this time, I put this time on it because we included the LGBTQ community, people who are not African American, that were allies, and we also a very strong voice of the female. And so it's this time we're really looking at ideas that in the 1960s were kept, underground. No one talks so much about the LGBTQ community. No one really even acknowledged the allies in the community, and women certainly voices were very much suppressed. And so I'm very proud of Megha's work.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kim. It's been an honor and a pleasure to know you and work alongside you.
Yes, same here. Thank you, Megha.
Yes, so before I turn it over to Megha to wrap up with some final comments, I have to tell you, like Megha said, we met here in Jersey City at an open mic event, and it does feel like I've known her forever. It does feel like she's always been a part of my life. And that's because she's not only does she leave that imprint on you, she's just so warm and so welcoming and so inviting in everything that she does. And hearing her perform poetry and her own poetry as well as someone else's, because there were some instances where she was reading for other people, it's just, it's astounding. It's astounding to know that there's such strength and such power, and she's unapologetically going to tell you like it is. And I admire that. And that is such a fire and such strength that I can't even begin to encompass what that means for the future. So thank you, Megha. Thank you for being who you are and for sharing your passion and your gift.
Thank you so much, Rescue. And I seriously, I'm like filled with so much gratitude for all of my guest readers who gave their time and energy. And it's not only that. I mean, I've always stressed this fact that an artist can never exist in isolation, right? We always need somebody else's support. We sometimes have the power and the fire in us, and sometimes we need somebody else's power to ignite us, right? And to encourage us, to support us. And I've been always been blessed. I keep saying that to everyone I've met, that I've been always been blessed to meet people like you in my life, who not only gave your energy to me but also gave me the platform and the courage and the inspiration to keep on moving. Because coming from a like a non-creative background and doing something, and giving the paving the way for people, and working with the local community and international community, it's been absolute blessing. So I think poetry has nothing been just a craft, but it's been a blessing in my life. And the outcome is you people, meeting you people and enriching my life. And it's beyond poetry. I mean, like I keep telling Candice all the time, it doesn't matter. Even if I'm not working with you in any project, I am gonna hound you like anything. I'm not gonna leave you. And I'll always, and that holds true for all of you. So I'm really thankful from the bottom of my heart that you all are esteemed poets, and you all are so, beacons of inspiration in your own field. And you gave your time and energy to read my poetry. And I was just clapping and smiling all through the reading, because hearing my own work from somebody else's voice, and especially the people which I admire in my life, it's an absolute blessing, an absolute treat. And this is a memory I'm gonna be like, I'll cherish for my life. So thank you so much, everyone, for doing this for me. And if ever I can, do the same for you, it will be an absolute honor for me to do the same for you. So, and I also want to take this moment to thank the audience, the loving audience who've been putting like comments for everyone for us. And they have given this time, and they're like, on a weekend, on a weekday, in a weekday evening, they have joined this meeting, which is not an easy thing these days. So I really want to thank, and on behalf of everyone. And in the end, I want to thank Open Road Poetry for their commendable technical assistance, to Crystal Letters, to Rescue Poetics, for giving me this platform, and giving me the support so that I can actually think of hosting this event, and bringing all my favorite people together on one evening. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Megha. So what's next for you, Megha? What's your next event on your tour? What's the next thing that's happening for you?
Oh, so event wise, yeah, the book tour is still going on. I have they were like a combination of 30 so events. So I've done with 25 of them for now. So there are five more events. And as we all know, the next month is API, Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So I'm doing a couple of events with Summer, Dawn in full color. and we are. I'm honored to represent the API community, so I'm doing some events for that. And then I have my publisher is also holding the Rio Grande Valley Poetry International Festival. So there are a couple of events from there, and then their Brownstone feature, they're featuring me. So there's like all these events, and then obviously I'll be joining some of the events which are hosted by you guys. And I'd love to come and meet you again in person now that everything is open. I get to meet Rescue quite often. We go to each other event. We need an excuse to meet each other. so that's what it is. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, you are welcome to unmute yourselves and clap for Megha, clap for our readers today. It's been an incredible experience. Make sure you go out and get Megha's book. And yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it. Let's show some love in this poetic community. Yes.
That was incredible.
Oh, thanks so much, Nicole.
That was incredible.
Here.
I'm going to mute myself again because I'm just going to keep going on and on. So
Thank you. So if that does it for all of us, ladies, please, Dr. Kim, Dr. Anita, Candace, if you have anything going on, please share it with us. We would love to hear what's happening in your lives so that we can help support you and uplift you and bring you to light as well. So please, if you have something you'd like to share, please do so.
Well, on May 12th, May 12th? May 12th, I'm having an event at the Daly City uh, Library. It's Eileen Casanetto. She's a poet laureate of San Mateo. And she put that together. Then on June 4th, I'm having an event at Sims. It's the African Sims Library of Poetry. It was put together. It was created by an African American man, Hiram Sims, in South Central. And we have Sonia Sanchez, Ishmael Reed, and Gloria House speaking. And then I hope to have a couple events in New York and New Jersey with Megha. That will probably be about September, October, I think. We want to give ourselves a lot of time to do promotion for them. And they're all connected to Blackfire this time. And also I want to do an environmental poetry event. And I'm looking at, I'm hoping I can get blue stockings. So if you know any environmental poets, we have a couple or people who do that. And so we're kind of excited. We hope to do that in September.
Fantastic. So make sure you put your links and your information in the chat so that everyone can follow, everyone can go ahead and keep up to date with you. Candace, Anita, do you have anything for us?
Candace, you want to go first?
I really don't have anything coming up. I'm just sort of going editing like I always do, and some great projects coming up, but I can't really talk about too many of them. I don't have a book coming out till September, and I'm sure Megda's gonna kind of push me a little bit more when it comes to that time because she's good like that, but we'll talk about it closer to the time.
Awesome. Put your link in the chat, put your information in the chat so that we can follow you on social media. Sign up for your newsletter if you have one and keep up to date on things that are happening. Thank you. Anita, do you have anything for us?
On May 8th, there's an event by the Journal of Expressive Writing on my book, which came out last year, my third book. It's called What's Wrong with Us Kali Women. And so that's one. There's another event in June that's being organized by an organization in DC. And then my fourth book of poetry is coming out by Kelsey Books again in end of August, early September. And it's a collection of acrophistic poems, which is poems based on images. So paintings or sculptures. So I'm, just planning things around that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Make sure you put your links in the chat so we can click on them and save those pages and sign up for your newsletters. So Megha, any final words for us before we say goodnight to everyone?
I just want to say again that thanks to all my guest readers who have joined and the audience who have joined. And I hope that the this was just an excuse for all of our readers to connect with each other. So I want all of you readers to get in touch with each other, get to know each other, because you all are powerful in your own way. You're special in your own way, and you're doing powerful things for the creative community. You're lifting them, you're breaking paths, and you're giving them the spotlight. So, and the more we build this network, and the more extensively we reach out to people and make paths for them, I think that's our way of giving back to the community. And I'm so thankful that I'm playing my small role in it, and I hope that it goes long way. So thank you, Rescue, so much again for doing this. And it's been an honor to listen to my poetry through all these voices. And as I always say, that I'll cherish this forever.
Thank you. So one final round of applause for our wonderful readers and for Megha. Make sure you go out and get your copy of the book so that you can read the poetry for yourselves and experience it through Megha's eyes as well. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here tonight. Have a wonderful night.
Thanks, everyone.
Superstar, you finally made it. But once your picture becomes tainted, it's what they call the rise and fall. I always said that I was gonna make it. Now it's plain for everyone to see. But this game I'm in don't take no prisoners, just casualties. I know that everything is gonna change. Even the friends I knew before me go. But this dream is the life I've been searching for. Started believing that I was the greatest. My life was never gonna be the same. Cause with the money came a different status. That's when things changed. Now I'm too concerned with all the things I own. Blinded by all the pretty girls I see. I'm beginning to lose my integrity. Sometimes in life you feel the fight is over.